Hello everyone. My name is Caden and I am an amateur actor slash writer. So I've written a fantasy book. I'm nearly done with it. I'm in the sort of the final editing stage of it. I'll probably be done around January, and after that I'll be looking for agents, publishers, all that sort of stuff. So I'm here to talk about I'm here to talk about basically how to make a book, how to write the story, build the world, write the characters, all that sort of stuff. So I think first place to start, I gotta be boring here. Research. Gotta do your research. You don't want to go into it not knowing what you're doing, because it will show and it's very hard to get out of. But after you've done your research, I think the biggest piece of advice I can give you, I basically took it myself. Use what you know. So, to give a bit of context, I started writing in January 2022. Yeah, 2022. I was 14. Um, I got the idea just after I watched Dune in the cinemas, Dune Part 1. Um, and it made me think, wow, that film was based off a book. Maybe I can get some kind of story across. I've always been, I'd say, a very creative person. So a book might be a good idea to get a story across. Get my name out there. And since I like Dune so much, I went for the sort of fantasy sci-fi kind of thing. Um, it's inspiration. Take ideas from what the sort of things you like or watch or just anything really. Something you see can be inspiration. Don't take, like, just take. Like, use the idea, twist it in a way that it's unique, that you're using it like no one else is. I use the idea of fantasy as my basis, and I I don't really want to go too into detail with this one, but as a kid I liked making little story. I always knew I was going to be an actor, so I kind of wrote like ideas for scripts or series or whatever. I was also very into gaming, so it normally involved gaming characters. I won't go into detail with them, but it basically the main plot of something that one of them is a group of these characters. Um, they were trained by a villain from a game I like, and well, they're kind of like they are kind of the underdogs. They're kind of gaming characters that have a lot of potential but weren't really used much. So I thought give him another chance. I didn't really go with that storyline, but the part about the group coming together, that I decided, even as a 14-year-old, that could be a good like start to something. And so I started to come up with the plot to go around it, to go around this synopsis. Um, and then it popped into my head. I like the elements. So, like earth, fire, wind, water, ice, all that sort of stuff. And so I thought maybe these characters could represent them somehow. I mean, it's fantasy, so they could literally have the powers to do it. The ideas kind of fell into place. I liked animals as well, and since I could use that in a fantasy setting, I decided to look at animals that could also represent these elements. So the main character, his name is Sol, which is Spanish for sun. He is, I mean, the name of this group is the Forces of Nature, which is the name of the book. And so he is the force of light, like light, sun. And, well, it was a little tricky finding something that represented light, so I just went with an animal you'd normally find in like bright countries, and I settled on a fennec fox. He's a fennec fox. And another one I've got is Luna, Spanish for moon, and she is the force of darkness. She's a wolf. They howl at the moon. That one makes more sense. But I apply that kind of logic to all 10 of the forces. The start was basically how they came to be. How they became the forces of nature. I wanted to do that. And there was a show that I really liked. I won't name it. But the first 2 episodes, I really liked the storyline of it. It was kind of an origin story for the main character as well. And I decided this is something I could use as well. It basically follows the forces getting kidnapped by these incredibly powerful beings. That's not in the show. What I did was took my own advice, took that, and made something unique around it. It's basically a school, a training ground for power, giving them this power, and in the end, that's how they became forces of nature. And so I needed another storyline for the rest of the book. So I decided, quite like the show, they escaped, and in a few years they had to get back together, because you know why? It's the end of the universe. It has always been a bit of a dark fascination of mine. What happens at the end? Like, will the universe just cease to exist? Sorry, I'm not trying to give you an existential crisis or anything, but it's like, I decided to use one of these ideas for this world, this universe, which I called the Great Implosion. And I decided that was the purpose for the forces, to reverse the Great Implosion, to give the universe its rebirth. And yeah, the plot just kept going from there. They needed to get back together, and the only people who were going to do that were the people that kidnapped them, who are not as bad as they seemed. Well, one of them is, but that's not really important right now. Not even that. No, forget about it. So that's practically how you create the base of what you're making. Just think of what you like, think of what you think you could use, and build around it. The characters, like I said, do your research on it, find a theme for them, like a characteristic, even. For world building, you don't have to do this. I took the idea quite literally. It's a space adventure. There's a lot of worlds there. You got the world with where the forces were kidnapped. You got their own home worlds, which are not visited because the mentors, the people who kidnap them, destroy them. Yeah, it's hard to say they're not very good when it doesn't really sound like they're good, but trust me, it does work. They found their new homes. Those are a bunch of different planets. They visit other planets. There's a revamped Earth at the end, restyled, so it's not quite like it is now, but it's a bit different. Different events happen to shape it into what it is. All that kind of stuff. Like, you can find your own way to do this. It will come naturally. You don't have to do what I've done. I've just done it because it felt right for me. So yeah, that's basically it. What you gotta do is, well, research, but you need to believe in yourself. If you want to do it, you gotta believe, alright? I mean, I did this, I started this when I was 14. You know, if I can, it takes time. You know, don't come out of the gate thinking you're gonna create the best thing ever on your first try. I did that. It was a bit of a mistake. I finished within 7 months. I finished my first draft within 7 months, thinking that was what I was gonna put into the world. I actually did get someone say, I did get an author say yes, but they were a bit shady, so I said no. But yeah, don't do that. If you think that your first draft is good enough, you're probably wrong. You gotta just keep going at it until it's perfection. So yeah, that's truly it. Yeah. Believe you can do it, because if I can, a lot of other people can. I have no experience. I was 14, but over time I got better. It evolved. So do all that, and most importantly, use what you know.